I'm a world-class art restorer. I'm also the real daughter the Shaw family threw away. The day I was brought back to the Shaw estate, my stepmother, the mistress who'd schemed her way into the family, looked down on me and asked, "What have you been doing all these years?" Without a second thought, I spun a lie. I'm a junk collector. Hey, when you're out in the world, you can be whoever you say you are. The Shaw's driver found me while I was cleaning a newly unearthed bronze artifact. "Miss Shaw, the boss sent me to bring you home." Even though he was just a driver, I saw the undisguised contempt in his eyes as he looked at my worn-out army surplus coat and mud-caked work boots. He didn't even give me time to change before hustling me back to the Shaw family's mansion. I'd been alive for over 20 years, but this was my first time here. Even though I'd known for a long time that I was the true heiress of the Shaw family. The moment my foot crossed the threshold, a sharp voice barked from the top of the stairs. "Who let this beggar in? Get her out!" The shrill sound startled me. I looked up to see a girl about my age. That would be the illegitimate daughter who stole my identity, Ashley Shaw. She was pretty, but the impatient scowl on her face made her instantly irritating. The driver next to me seemed used to it. "Miss," he said calmly, "this is the eldest daughter the boss asked me to bring home." Ashley frowned and was about to step forward when a lavishly dressed woman pulled her back. "Ashley, don't make a scene." Behind the woman stood my biological father, the man I'd never met, Arthur Shaw, CEO of the Shaw Corporation. Even though they brought me home, this family clearly didn't consider me an honored guest. They didn't even offer me a decent change of clothes before sitting down for dinner. "Dad, are you sure you got the right person? She doesn't have an ounce of our family's class," Ashley said, looking me up and down with a sneer. I ignored her and picked up my chopsticks, digging in. I'd been so focused on cleaning the bronze artifact from the National Heritage Department that I'd completely forgotten to eat. This whole family's rotten, but that wasn't going to stop me from getting a decent meal. Arthur didn't respond to her, just said flatly, "Chloe, this is your sister, Ashley, and my current wife, your stepmother, Felicia." I grunted without looking up, busy piling my plate with the most expensive food on the table. Felicia spoke, her tone dripping with condescension as she theatrically covered her nose. "Chloe, what have you been doing all these years? How did you end up so unpresentable?" What the hell did she know? My clothes were a little dirty, so I was unpresentable? In my field, I'm known by the codename Aura. I'm a top-tier art restorer with a net worth of over $1 billion. Of course, I wasn't about to let them in on that. So I just shrugged and said, "I'm a junk collector." "Hey, you can be whoever you say you are." The moment the words left my mouth, all three of them froze, chopsticks hovering. Arthur was the first to speak. "If life was so hard, why didn't you ever try to contact me?" His shamelessness actually made me laugh. "Mr. Shaw, you seem to be forgetting. You're the one who threw me out in the first place." My mother had been a fool for love, head over heels for Arthur Shaw. What she didn't know was that Arthur was only after her family's connections, and was already having a secret affair with Felicia. In fact, while my mother was pregnant with me, Felicia was pregnant with Ashley. Sadly, my mother didn't live long. She died before her postpartum month was even over. My grandparents, having lost their only daughter, passed away soon after. They say a man's 3 greatest joys are a promotion, a windfall, and a dead wife. Arthur Shaw got all 3 and then some. He inherited my grandfather's entire fortune, multiplying his own wealth overnight. That must have been a great day for the happy couple. Ashley was born only 2 days after me. To outsiders, 2 infants would be impossible to tell apart. My dear father, Arthur Shaw, in order to spare his and Felicia's daughter the label of being illegitimate, brought Ashley home to take my place as the true heiress and had me thrown away. Even the name Ashley was originally meant for me. The world thought Felicia was a model stepmother, never knowing she was Ashley's biological mother. The old butler tasked with getting rid of me took pity on me and secretly gave me to his friend to raise. We later called each other master and apprentice. My mentor not only raised me to be healthy and strong, but also taught me the art of antique restoration. He cherished me and had me take his last name, Peterson, naming me Chloe. He truly treated me like his own precious daughter. If it weren't for him, I have no idea where I would have ended up. So, how dare Arthur Shaw even ask me that question? Ashley was furious at my disrespect. How dare you talk to Dad like that? Whatever happened in the past, he brought you home, didn't he? She shot me a contemptuous look. A junk collector like you should feel honored just to sit at the same table with us. How can you be so arrogant? My expression didn't change. I put down my chopsticks, wiped my mouth, and looked around at the different expressions on my family's faces. One of you abandons his own daughter, one of you steals another woman's husband, and one of you is a cuckoo in the nest who stole someone else's identity. The fact that I can even stomach eating with the three of you is a favor in itself. Arthur and Felicia's faces turned ugly. Ashley slammed her hand on the table and shot to her feet. I smiled at Arthur. If you were going to have her impersonate me, you could have at least educated her properly. Seeing how she behaves, I'm embarrassed for you. Ashley, fuming, was about to retort, but a sharp look from Arthur silenced her. I stood up and started heading upstairs on my own. Where's my room? A hot shower finally made me feel a little better. I had just lain down when my phone rang. I saw the caller ID and frowned. Ms. Ora, I'm begging you. Just help me restore this revolving vase. I'll pay you $1 million. I was losing my patience. I've told you a dozen times, I'm not taking new commissions right now. Find someone else. The caller was Kyle Spencer, son of the Spencer Group's chairman. The Spencer Group was one of the city's top corporations, but they were ruthless and known for their shady dealings. This Kyle Spencer, in particular, was rumored to have depraved tastes and had already left 3 women permanently disabled. He'd been pestering me for weeks to restore a rare revolving vase worth hundreds of millions. I'd refused him multiple times, but he wouldn't give up. No one else can fix it. My family is counting on selling this vase to plug a financial hole. I was unmoved. His tone suddenly shifted. You'd better take the money and do the job. Don't think I can't find you just because you use a code name. If you mess with my cash flow, I'll make sure you regret it. I hung up and blocked his number. Plugging holes? Cash flow? Even if the Spencers went bankrupt, what did I care? Arthur told me that from now on, my public identity would be his and Felicia's daughter. Starting today, to the outside world, Felicia is your biological mother. Acknowledge his mistress as my mother? I wasn't doing that without getting something out of it. To make me play along, Arthur tossed me a black card. You're spending the Shaw family's money, so you'd better do your part. Watch your mouth when you're out in public. His voice was full of warning. For a daughter he hadn't seen in over 20 years, my father sure didn't have any feelings for me. For all these years, they'd assumed I was dead. Now they suddenly find me and give me this manufactured identity. Something was definitely off. I was curious to see what kind of game they were playing. Before I could go on a shopping spree with the black card, Felicia started taking me out to buy clothes herself. We went to several high-end boutiques, and a few outfits easily cost over $100,000, but Felicia didn't even blink. Though judging by Ashley's wardrobe, my new clothes were probably fast fashion to them. After shopping, Felicia took me to a beauty salon. From now on, you have to come here for a treatment every week. Don't embarrass the Shaw family. She lay on the treatment bed next to me, glancing over with a lazy, imperious air. Beside her, Ashley's voice was full of annoyance. Mom, can you please not make me come with her next time? If my friends see me with her, they'll make fun of me. Before Felicia could answer, I turned to them. Aren't you two getting regular exfoliating treatments? How is your skin still so thick? You play the part of the cuckoo in the nest long enough, you start to think you're the real bird. What did you just say? Ashley shot up, her face mask nearly sliding off. I ignored her and looked straight at Felicia. Whether or not I embarrassed the family isn't up to you. I'm the real Shaw. Felicia glanced at the esthetician working on our faces, then turned to scold Ashley. Is that any way to talk to your sister? She shot Ashley a look, signaling her not to provoke me into saying something I shouldn't. Ashley was so mad she was practically hyperventilating. She finally grabbed the bowl of soup next to her, smashed it on the floor, and yelled at the innocent esthetician. This stuff is garbage, it's way too sweet. Get it out of here. I rarely spent money on clothes or my appearance, But after 2 months of being pampered by the Shaws, I looked significantly better. During this time, however, I sensed that the Shaw Corporation was in some kind of trouble. Arthur was chain-smoking constantly and occasionally yelling into his phone. I figured bringing me back had something to do with the company's financial situation. Sure enough, a few days later, Arthur laid his cards on the table. Chloe, the family business is facing some difficulties. As a member of the Shaw family, it's your duty to help out. I get to enjoy the good life for 2 months, but now I have to share the burden? I couldn't hide the mix of disbelief and annoyance on my face. Mr. Shaw, are you being serious right now? He stared at me, then exhaled a cloud of smoke. What, you're not willing? His entitled tone and expression instantly ignited my anger. When I first learned the truth about my birth, I had thought about revenge. But my mentor always told me that if I was happy with my life, I shouldn't let hatred crowd it out and ruin my chance to enjoy it. I never lacked for money or love growing up, so I had long ago given up on the idea of getting back at the Shaws. But in that moment, I really wanted to add fuel to the fire of their downfall. I narrowed my eyes and curved my lips into a smile. Of course I'm willing. After all, a poor girl like me wants to enjoy this lavish lifestyle for as long as I can. Ashley shot me a nasty look. That's right. Marrying into the Spencer family is a blessing you couldn't have dreamed of in 100 lifetimes. You should be grateful. Marrying into the Spencer family? I froze. She couldn't possibly be talking about Kyle Spencer, could she? No wonder they'd been taking me shopping and to the salon ever since I got here. They were planning to use me in a marriage alliance. Then why don't you marry him? Ashley's eyes darted away. Me? I'm already engaged to someone else, she said, her voice lacking conviction. Yeah, right. They knew about Kyle Spencer's special hobbies and wouldn't dare go anywhere near him. Arthur took another deep drag from his cigarette. Our cash flow is tight, he said heavily. The Spencers are powerful and can help us get through this, but they want a marriage alliance. Can't you just solve the cash flow problem? I asked, playing dumb. Arthur gave me a look like I was an idiot. Not solve it. If we don't solve it, the Shaw Corporation will go bankrupt. I fought to keep from smiling. Perfect. That's exactly what I was waiting to hear. Kyle Spencer was already desperately selling off his family's antiques to cover their own debts. The guy was a drowning man himself, yet Arthur was counting on him to fix his financial problems. It was clear he had no idea what the Spencers' true situation was. I nodded at Arthur. Okay, I'll do it. I'll marry him. Seeing how readily I agreed, Arthur quickly arranged a meeting between the two families. This must be Ashley, right? Kyle's mother said, sizing me up with a smile. Today, the real Ashley was dressed in drab gray, usually caked in heavy makeup. Her face was now so plain it was like she'd washed it with water. She was clearly terrified of Kyle taking an interest in her. Kyle himself was handsome, but his cold, Sampaku eyes gave him a cruel, arrogant look. He was studying me along with his mother. Arthur put on a fake business smile. This is my eldest daughter, Chloe Shaw. Kyle's father frowned, his tone wary. That's not right. I've never heard of the Shaws having another daughter. I affectionately took Felicia's hand and spoke up. Sir, ma'am, you may not have heard, but I'm the daughter of Mr. Shaw's current wife. Felicia played along beautifully, gently smoothing my hair. Yes, Chloe grew up abroad and just recently returned. Mr. Spencer was still frowning and about to say something, but his wife nudged him with her elbow, then said with a bright smile, Chloe seems like a very sweet girl. Our Kyle needs a good wife to support him. I think these two are a perfect match. Kyle purred, his greasy gaze raking over my body. I think so too. Chloe is very beautiful. I thought back to the threatening phone call he'd made, demanding I fix his vase. If he knew that the woman in front of him was Aura, the restorer he'd begged and who'd refused him, he'd probably cough up blood. Ashley seemed unhappy about being ignored and muttered under her breath. That's only because I picked out her clothes for her. She's not as pretty as me. Felicia shot her a harsh glare, signaling her to shut up, then hissed in her ear. What, you want to marry him now? Ashley flinched and shook her head like a bobblehead doll. Arthur and the Spencers clinked glasses, spouting empty pleasantries about business. Listening to them toast to their bright future, I laughed coldly to myself. During a break in the dinner, I overheard the Spencers talking quietly near the restrooms. Chloe is the current wife's daughter, and that's enough. Who cares where she came from? As long as the marriage alliance goes through, Mrs. Spencer said. Mr. Spencer sighed. It's the only way. Without the Shaw's help, we're facing bankruptcy. We can always have Kyle divorce her later once we're back on our feet. These two families were just as despicable as each other. If they'd spent the time they wasted on this marriage scheme looking for another solution, they might have had a chance. But now it was hopeless. The night of the dinner, Kyle used a different number to call my work phone again. Haha, my family's financial problems are solved. You'd better hide well. Don't let me find you or else. He was about to launch into more threats, but I didn't give him the chance. I hung up again. The Shaws and the Spencers announced the engagement. The business world began to buzz with speculation that the merger of these two giants would send their stock prices soaring. Our house was suddenly flooded with guests, all ostensibly there to offer congratulations, but really just trying to network and curry favor. While I played the part of Felicia's long-lost daughter and the Shaw's eldest, I was secretly sending a sample of my hair and Felicia's to a DNA lab. When I went for the wedding dress fitting, I had it tailored to Ashley's exact size. I wonder if she'll like her gown. On the day of the engagement party, all of our industry partners were in attendance. The scene was grand. Arthur and Felicia, dressed formally, mingled with the crowd, accepting a chorus of blessings that were impossible to tell from genuine or fake. Ashley wore a dress even more extravagant than my engagement gown, and more jewelry than me, chatting animatedly with the guests. She was glowing, playing the part of the main character, terrified I might overshadow her. Thank you all for coming to my daughter's engagement party with the son of the Spencer family. While Arthur was giving his speech, I took the DNA test results from my purse. After his speech, the room erupted in applause. And now let's hear a few words from today's leading lady. He motioned for me to come on stage and deliver the pre-written speech. I nodded at him, giving him a look that said, "Don't worry." Then on stage, I pulled out the report. The hand holding the microphone began to tremble, and my voice caught with a sob. "I'm so sorry, everyone." The applauding crowd fell silent, stunned. I secretly pinched my thigh, hard and big. Fat tears started rolling down my cheeks. The truth is, I wasn't living abroad. I was lost as a child and was only recently found by my parents. I sniffled, my voice trembling with vulnerability. But after I came home, my sister Ashley kept saying I didn't look like anyone in the family. So I secretly got a DNA test with my mother, but the results. The three Spencers froze, completely stunned. Arthur, panicked, tried to rush the stage to pull me down. I quickly unfolded the report in my hand. I'm not Mrs. Shaw's daughter at all. The Shaws found the wrong person. A low murmur spread through the crowd, and I could hear whispers. Well, the Shaws and the Spencers are completely humiliated now. I don't know how they're going to recover from this. I knew something was off about this sudden eldest daughter. You think the Shaws found a substitute bride? Arthur gritted his teeth, a vein throbbing on his forehead. He was furious but forced himself to remain calm. He shot me a death glare. If we weren't in public, he probably would have torn me to shreds. I just stood there, silently crying, looking like a pitiful, innocent rabbit. The Spencers didn't storm out. Mr. Spencer's face was ashen, but he didn't say anything, waiting to see how Arthur would handle this disaster. Perhaps it occurred to him that I wasn't the only potential bride. Ashley was trembling behind Felicia, who was holding her hand, both to comfort her and to keep her from running away. In the face of profit, Felicia, her own mother, had decided to sell her out in an instant. Arthur sighed, as if resigning himself to his fate. Yes, he announced to the crowd. You've all heard the news of our eldest daughter's return. It was indeed a misunderstanding. Chloe wanted to clarify this herself, and I agreed. Not bad for the CEO of a major corporation. His ability to spin a crisis was impressive. His gaze shifted to Ashley. The real star of our show today is Ashley, our true Shaw family heiress. Mr. Spencer, I trust you'll take good care of our Ashley from now on. Mr. and Mrs. Spencer's faces broke into smiles. Arthur knew that as long as the deal was sealed, the Spencers didn't care who they were getting. Kyle walked toward Ashley. As he passed me, he whispered, "What a shame." He went straight over and took Ashley's hand. Ashley was pale as a ghost, shaking uncontrollably. She looked terrified. But the extravagant dress she wore certainly suited her new role. Taking advantage of the moment, I slipped out the back door of the venue and into a car that was waiting for me. After several months, I was finally back in my real home. "Happy now?" my mentor asked, setting down his teacup. His tone was neutral, but I knew he was a little angry. He was worried I'd accidentally gotten myself trapped. I wrapped my arms around his neck, trying to win him over. "I didn't start it. They were the ones who tried to scheme against me first." He glared at me. "If Arthur had publicly revealed your real identity, that you were the first wife's daughter, they would have tied you up and forced you to marry him." I smiled. "Mentor, you seriously underestimate how much he cares about his public image. He would rather let Ashley marry that pervert Kyle Spencer than publicly admit he threw away his legitimate child and replaced her with an illegitimate one. He'd never admit to such a monstrous act." My mentor paused, then sighed with a pout. "Fine. After what they did to you, I suppose you deserve to let off some steam." In this world, though I had a biological father and a half-sister, the only person who truly cared about me was my mentor. I started taking on restoration work again, while keeping a close eye on the Shaw and Spencer families. At first, Kyle and Ashley maintained the appearance of a loving couple. Then both their companies plunged into a financial crisis. Mass layoffs began. My private investigator told me that Ashley often ran back to the Shaw house, bruised and swollen, only to be dragged back by the Spencers. He even sent me a video. In it, Kyle was grabbing a fleeing Ashley, trying to shove her back into his car. Felicia was nearby, screaming and trying to pull Ashley away, but she was no match for Kyle. "My daughter is the Shaw heiress. How can you hit her? You animal." Kyle shoved her away violently. "Shaw heiress? Ha," he spat. "Your family just sold their daughter for cash. A daughter who's been sold is no different from any other woman." Felicia's eyes turned red with fury. She screamed and beat on Kyle's chest. "You're full of it. Your family sold you too. You had a massive hole to fill. What right do you have to marry my daughter?" Kyle kicked her in the stomach, and Felicia stumbled back and fell to the ground. "You have the nerve to talk? Your family was about to go bankrupt, and you pretended everything was fine to arrange this marriage with my dad, dragging my family's company down with you. And now you're blaming me?" He locked the screaming Ashley in the back of the car, got in, and looked down at Felicia with a malicious grin. "But I will say this, your daughter is pretty durable in bed." Then he floored it and drove off. Felicia, her face contorted with rage, shrieked and ran after the car, but could only watch as it disappeared in a cloud of dust. I turned off the video. Felicia must be regretting letting Ashley marry him now. But none of them, not Felicia, not Ashley, and not Arthur, who wasn't in the video, deserved an ounce of pity. In their minds, the perfect ending was me being the one enduring Kyle to maintain their lavish lifestyle. They all got what they deserved. The Shaw and Spencer corporations went bankrupt even faster than I had imagined. When the Shaw's company was investigated, a mountain of illegal activities came to light, enough to put someone away for more than a decade. Under the cover of darkness, Arthur Shaw took all his remaining assets and snuck to the docks, planning to flee the country. Unfortunately for him, I was already there with undercover cops. Just as he was about to board the boat, they arrested him. "How? How did you know I was here?" Arthur whirled around and stared at his assistant. You're the traitor." The assistant tried to explain, but I stepped out of the shadows, cutting him off. "Mr. Shaw, helping the country catch a criminal isn't being a traitor." Arthur stared at me in disbelief, the muscles in his face twitching. "So it was you. My biggest regret is bringing you home. I let a wolf into my house, and now look where it's gotten me." The police cuffed him. The once mighty CEO of the Shaw Corporation was now a pathetic prisoner. I looked at him coldly, my voice dripping with scorn. "What you did deserves a one-way ticket to hell. You're just going to prison. You should be grateful." Arthur's eyes were bloodshot, but no matter how much he hated me, he couldn't hurt me. "I hear time passes very slowly in there, Mr. Shaw. Now you'll have plenty of time to regret everything." The police shoved the still cursing Arthur into the patrol car. This once arrogant man had finally met the end he deserved. The next day, as scheduled, I appeared on a live talk show, revealing my identity as a restorer to the public for the first time. So the legendary top art restorer, known as Aura, is actually such a young woman, the host exclaimed. She then asked, "What was it that made you decide to get into the restoration industry?" I paused for a moment, then lowered my eyes. Honestly, it was just about survival. I then told them everything in detail. How Arthur had abandoned me and had Ashley take my place. The studio audience gasped. The host looked at the director in shock, who simply nodded back at her. The host hesitated. "The Mr. Shaw you're talking about, it wouldn't happen to be Arthur Shaw, the CEO of Shaw Corporation, who was just reported to have been arrested last night, would it?" I nodded, raising a hand to wipe a tear from my eye. Yes. It's all thanks to my mentor, who raised me and taught me my craft, that I was able to make it to where I am today. The moment the live broadcast ended, the hashtag Arthur Shaw swapped real daughter for illegitimate one shot to the top of the trending charts. Felicia's image as the perfect stepmother was shattered. She was now branded a homewrecker and a vicious schemer. Felicia had been kept like a canary in a gilded cage by the Shaws for 20 years. She had no skills to support herself. After the bankruptcy, their house and assets were seized to pay off debts, and Felicia was forced to move into a rundown apartment in the inner city. When the story broke, a swarm of my online supporters tracked her down. My PI told me Felicia hadn't dared to leave her apartment for days. Her already filthy front door had been smeared with filth, and in the summer heat, the stench was unbearable. The detective also mentioned that there were a lot of homeless guys in that part of town who noticed this well-kept but unprotected single woman. Some of them were getting ideas. Let fate run its course. Don't get involved. Even if Felicia ended up being assaulted by one of them, what did it have to do with me? I wasn't saintly enough to save my enemy. After my TV appearance, I was inundated with requests for restoration work. "I'm so sorry, but the National Heritage Department has some urgent projects, so I can't take any private commissions for a while." In a few months, the government was hosting an international exhibition, and several artifacts needed immediate restoration and maintenance. I was swamped. I'd been exhausted lately, so I decided to take the weekend off to rest at home. I hailed a cab, but the route started getting more and more unfamiliar, heading toward an abandoned factory. "Driver, isn't this the wrong way?" "Nope. This is exactly where you're going." The moment the driver spoke, I knew something was wrong. That voice, it was Kyle Spencer. "Stop the car." I tried to open the door, but the doors and windows were locked. The car stopped inside the factory, and Kyle dragged me out like I was a sack of potatoes. Ashley was already waiting inside. The moment she saw me, her eyes filled with a crazed, vicious hatred. "You destroyed our family. I'm going to make you pay." They tied me to a chair they'd prepared and brought over a toolbox. "What are you doing? Let me go right now. This is a crime." "Ha! A crime? You think I'm afraid of committing a crime now?" I noticed Ashley was walking strangely, and I could see faint scars on her forearms. It seemed her life with Kyle had been anything but pleasant. Kyle sat down across from me, a cold sneer on his face. "No wonder you wouldn't fix my vase. No wonder you were so obedient before the engagement. You were planning to use my family for your revenge all along." I stayed calm. "I never forced you to do anything. Your two families were the ones who jumped at the marriage alliance. I was just an innocent pawn." "Innocent?" Ashley's eyes blazed with hatred. "You deliberately exposed everything at the last minute, and deliberately made me marry Kyle. You call that innocent?" I looked at Kyle with feigned innocence. "Your wife really seems to hate you." Kyle glanced at Ashley, who flinched and fell silent. He stood up and started rummaging through the toolbox. He finally picked out a hammer. "This one feels right." He weighed it in his hand and walked toward me. I watched him nervously, my heart pounding. "Aren't you a top restorer? I'll be merciful today. I won't take your life." He grabbed my hand and slammed it down on the table. But since these hands refused to work for me, I might as well destroy them. My face went pale. I tried to pull my hand back, but I was no match for his strength. Ashley stood nearby, arms crossed, a gloating, vicious smile on her face. You have only yourself to blame. If that TV show hadn't exposed you, I'd still be in the dark. Blame them. With that, Kyle raised the hammer high, about to bring it down on my hand. Suddenly I smiled. I looked from him to Ashley. No, I don't blame them. In fact, I should thank you and Ashley for cooperating so perfectly. What? Kyle and Ashley froze. Suddenly, the sound of police sirens wailed outside. Ashley, terrified, started scrambling to escape. Kyle looked out the window in a daze. The door was kicked open. It was Director Evans from the National Heritage Department. Drop the tool, or I'll blow your head off right now, he said, aiming a gun at Kyle's head. Before Kyle could react, a flood of police officers swarmed in and apprehended both him and Ashley. Director Evans and my mentor rushed over and untied me. It was only then that Ashley realized what had happened, that from the moment I went on that show, I was setting a trap. She screamed through gritted teeth. You bitch. You did this on purpose. Kyle finally understood too. He struggled wildly, roaring. You fucking played me. I'm going to kill you. The police pinned him to the ground and cuffed his hands behind his back. Director Evans' face was dark. He walked over and kicked Kyle hard. You dared to touch Chloe? Do you have any idea how many of our national treasures only she can restore? Our entire department treats her like a god, and you wanted to smash her hands. Director Evans turned to carefully inspect my hands, then sighed in relief. Thank God. Thank God you're okay. From the day I decided to go on that show, I knew Ashley and Kyle would seek revenge. Neither of them would ever admit their own faults. They would blame the destruction of their families entirely on me. I had hired several plainclothes bodyguards to protect me 24/7 and report any suspicious activity to my mentor immediately. Ashley and Kyle were even more impatient than I expected. They made their move so quickly. Director Evans showing up was a surprise. He had been at my house, trying to convince my mentor to persuade me to join the department officially. He and my mentor heard the news of my kidnapping together. See? The outside world is a dangerous place. Chloe, just come work for the department, Director Evans said, trying to persuade me again at my house. I stood up and gave him a deep bow. He sighed. I knew it. That look on your face means you're going to refuse me again. I smiled. You know me, sir. I'm used to my freedom, and I don't like being tied down. But whenever the country needs me, I will always give it my all. My mentor was getting older, and I wanted to stay home and do restoration work with him. Kyle and Ashley were both sent to prison. I went to visit Ashley. The arrogant, bossy girl I first met was gone, replaced by a deep sense of despair. She gave a self-deprecating laugh. What, you came to gloat? I shook my head. You should thank me. For you, prison is probably better than living with the Spencers. Ashley froze, turning her head away. After a moment, she stared back at me with hatred. Stop pretending to be a good person. This is all your fault. No. I raised an eyebrow, my voice quiet but every word a dagger to her heart. If Arthur truly loved you, he would have admitted at the engagement party that I was his first wife's daughter, and I could have still married into the Spencer family as the Shaw heiress. But he sacrificed you for his own pride. Besides, the night he was arrested, he was trying to run away with all the family's money by himself. Ashley's expression went blank, her eyes turning redder and redder. And if Felicia truly loved you, she would have given up the Shaw family's wealth rather than let you marry that monster Kyle. But she held on to you so tightly that day, terrified you would run away. Her brow furrowed, her hands clenched into fists. She finally broke, slamming a fist on the table and jumping up. You're lying. My parents love me. Don't try to stir things up just because you couldn't get their love. The guards rushed in to restrain her. As they dragged her away, I said softly, the love they have for you isn't much different from the love they had for me. Think about it. With that, I picked up my bag and walked away without a backward glance, ignoring Ashley's hysterical screams behind me. After leaving the prison, I went to the inner city. It was my first time seeing Felicia's living situation with my own eyes. The social media outrage had come and gone. The netizens who had once championed my cause were no longer defacing her door. But after that incident, The local vagrants and laborers all knew her as a still attractive, but completely unprotected single woman. Her door and windows looked flimsy and ready to break. I knocked lightly, and a scream came from inside. "Go away. Go away. Leave me alone." Just then a neighbor came out to dump some water. She glanced at me. "You know her? You should get her out of here. The lunatic screams all day and night. It's driving me crazy." The neighbor looked at the apartment with disgust. So many men go in and out of her place all day, and she still pretends to be a decent woman. I didn't say anything. I just turned and left. Knowing she was miserable was enough for me. Seeing her mental state, even when Ashley gets out of prison, she'll probably have no choice but to put her in a psychiatric hospital. The weather was beautiful today, the sun warm on my skin. I bought a pound of the smoked beef my mentor loves, pushed open the door to our home, and called out with a smile, "Mentor, dinner's ready." The end.